Tide of Fortune. I got given this game for free, which is always a slightly ominous thing, isn't it? A very nice guy threw it into a trade with me. I got a Kevin Zucker Napoleonic game that I really didn't like out of the trade as well. But this, I really like this game. So it is, basically it's another Market Garden game. There's Ninja Megan, 9 Megan. There's Arnhem. Here are the British forces. Here's my British paratroopers, Polish paratroopers, American 101st Airborne, 82nd Airborne. And I, unlike the other Market Garden games I played, can do more or less anything I want with them. The map stretches all the way over to The Hague and Rotterdam. As far over as somewhere called Rees. Over here. Each of these stacks is a division. Each of the units is sort of like battalion, brigade, regiment, whatever. And it uses a rather unique system where units basically move around their divisions with their divisional command at the middle, and hits are actually taken on the division command rather than on each individual unit. If you look on Board Game Geek, you'll find that this game has a rating of 5 point something, and everybody hates it. And that is quite justified. Let's have a look at an example of why, on how not to do game development. One thing you should always do when developing a game is read through your scenario descriptions and make sure that the game that you think you're publishing, rather than an early prototype of the game that has since been changed. For instance, you can see the Canadian Corps. Well, there is no marker for the Canadian Corps because corps were abstracted in the game. But obviously in an earlier version of the game, the Canadians did have a corps marker. You also have what's called 4AX. You see that in the middle? Nowhere does it explain what 4AX is. What I've decided is it's probably, let's see if I can find them, it's probably the independent armoured brigades, because there's an 8 and there's a 4 somewhere, 4, so I think that's 4AX and that's 8AX, just because those are units in the counter mix, which should do nothing if they weren't those. So there's that. What else doesn't explain? You'll notice that paratroopers basically aren't mentioned anywhere in the scenario descriptions. So I assume you can just drop, as far as I can tell from the rules, you can basically just drop them wherever you want, which is quite cool. The rules do suggest you have to drop them on the first turn, or decide whether you're going to drop them on the first turn. But they're not listed in the unit setup at all, or in your forces for the mission, for this scenario. Although you are told that you have to supply them for each turn that they have been dropped. So it implies that you're supposed to have paratroopers and that you're supposed to drop them, but the game doesn't tell you anywhere that you're actually supposed to do that. You sort of have to work that out yourself. So that's the setup problems. And I haven't set up the Germans yet. There might be more problems with the Germans when I set them up. So I can see why people sort of beat on this game, because the development for it it's pretty terrible. One of the units in that setup chart, they actually mislabel the US, where is it? It's the US 9th, I think. Oh, no, it's the US 30th Infantry Division are called the 2nd in the setup charts for some reason. There is the guy who gave this to me, printed off a load of errata sheets that explain all this stuff. So you can sort of correct it, but this is certainly a game where you're basically going to have to work out what the designer intended and apply a bit of logic. But it is a lot of fun. I have soloed out just this half of the map for the earlier scenario where you're trying to take Antwerp and cut off the Germans as they try and escape through here. But I've set this up for the Allies for the Market Garden scenario. Why is it a good game? Basically, because it does what I like war games to do. It gives you all the resources, and it does have an off-map supply tracking system, which is quite detailed as well, and lets you have a go at it in the way that you want to do it. The two other Arnhem games, Market Garden games I played, are It Never Snows, the big SCS title, and what's the other one? Oh, it's a 70s or 80s SPI version, single mapper. And they both basically give you a very well, it's a big map, but they cut out this area and you have to go down the set route you're supposed to go down historically. In this game, Allies win if they can get across this river. or if they can exit units into some of these exit hexes over here, that'll do that. That'll apply. But basically, you've got to cross this river. And I can do that more or less wherever I want to, however I want to. I don't have to go through Arnhem. I don't have to go through Ninjamagan. I could try from the fun time down here in the Hurtgen Forest, going for Roermond, up here, skirting the edge of the west wall, and cutting over here at Emmerich. That would be possible. It would be one way of doing it. I don't know how feasible that would be, but that's just an idea looking at the map. I could get up to St. Hertingbosch, can't pronounce Dutch names, and cut through here. That would be one way of doing it. Or I could come through these twin cities here of Tilburg and Breda and cross into Dordrecht, Rotterdam. There would be ways of crossing this river. So I've got quite a few angles. At the moment I'm tempted to try and do a two-pronged attack and just ignore Arnhem, because I know that the SS are there, because I've seen the film. I haven't set the Germans up yet. I might change my mind, or I might be brave and just stick to what I said I was going to do before I knew where the Germans' positions were. In these videos, I'll do a couple, maybe 3 of them. I'm not really going to do rules explanations, because most people aren't going to be interested in that for this game, because they're not going to play it. But I will sort of explain some things as I go along, and I'll try and just show my strategic thinking, and then we'll see whether it works or whether it doesn't. It is usually, because this wasn't a very popular game, you can pick it up. Yes, 3W, that explains all the problems with it. You could pick it up pretty cheaply if you're interested in it. I wouldn't recommend paying a lot for this game, but it can be quite a lot of fun on a budget, and since I am an unemployed post-student wargamer, I am on a tight budget.